Hey guys, welcome to the prop shop, where today we're going to take pieces of foam like this and turn it into the hunter knife from Destiny. Check it out.
Don't forget to like and subscribe so you can see all my future builds. Now let's dive into it.
So I grabbed this pattern right over from Punish Prop's website. You can go over there, grab them for yourself and follow along, or just sit back and be entertained. Now I'm going to do two versions of this knife. This is going to be the one exactly from the video game, so it's going to get the regular silver paint job, and it's also going to have those little cool little lines that are going to go over it. So that one's going to look really neat. I'm also going to do one that's going to have my own little flair on it, so hopefully I can get a digital camo paint job on there, and maybe I'll change up a couple things on the design of the knife, and that'll kind of be my own. Other than that, let's get to it. The first step is to cut everything out.
Now, when I said to cut everything out, I kind of meant the first step, which is to cut two rectangles, the length of the blade, and glue them together. We're going to cut both those rectangles out of 10mm craft foam to give the desired thickness. Now, it's going to be a lot easier to cut out one blade from one thick piece of craft foam versus just kind of cutting out two pieces and hoping they line up together. Next is to cut out some 2mm craft foam. That's going to give us a lot of the detail that we're going to need on top of the blade. This is where we're going to cut out the hunter symbol, and it's going to give us some direction on where to actually punch those holes for the fingers, and in the middle of the blade as well. Now after that, we're going to go ahead and add that layer on top of our already two layers to give it even more depth and more dimension. The more layers, the more detail we're going to get out of our entire blade.
Now that we have our two layers together, we can go ahead and put our 2mm foam right over top of it, and then start to cut the rest of it out.
Cutting the rest of this pattern out is going to be a little tricky because this foam is pretty thick. If I had a bandsaw, that would make my life a lot easier, but I don't have one. I have a sharp craft knife, or what I believe to be is sharp.
Now that everything's all glued down and cut out, we have our blade right here. Now the next step is to go ahead and clean up all the edges right here. If you could see, look a little bit closely, my knife definitely wasn't sharp enough, so I'm going to have a little bit of cleanup work to do at the very end. So the very important thing is to have a sharp knife before you do something like this. After that, punch out the holes right here for your fingertips, and one hole right up here. And after that, we're going to go ahead and put an outward bevel right on here so it can look more like a stabby, pokey thing. Let's go ahead and start doing that now.
So here you can get very technical and measure the tops, bottoms on a different angle and all this other fun stuff that I'm just not going to do. I'm going to go ahead and just kind of eyeball it. I have a pretty good eye for these things, so it's going to look pretty good in the very end. I'm going to go ahead, flip it over, and do it on the other side. Now, just be careful when you do this. I almost put the wrong bevel on the wrong side, and I had to start my whole thing all over again. Now with the sharpened PVC pipe, I can go ahead and put those holes into the knives where they're supposed to be. Now, since I didn't have a sharp knife, I had to go in with my rotary tool and kind of smooth out all the edges, all those little frayed pieces where you can tell that the foam was pulled instead of cut, and all those little edges that just didn't look good, where they weren't lining up with all the seams and everything. So I went ahead and took care of that. Now, the moral of the story, make sure you have a sharp knife when you go and make a knife, or something like that. I'm sure there's a proverb in there somewhere, but I had a lot of cleanup work to do. So for the straps, we're going to go two different types. The real leather, I'm going to go ahead and use that on the design. I'll show you guys at the very end. Now this one is going to use a series of 2mm craft foam strips at a 1/4 inch, all kind of hot glued together. Now, in order to get the amount you're going to need, or the distance from everything, you take the size of the craft foam, divided by the square root of pi, and you come up with a bunch. You can just make a bunch extra and throw out what you don't need, or use it for a different project. It's kind of what I'm doing. I'm really just guessing. Now after that, we're going to have a few more steps we can go on and finish it up. We're going to have to go ahead and heat seal it. We're going to hit it with our heat gun to kind of seal up the rest of the foam. We're going to go ahead and put a coat of platisdip on there. Maybe actually 3 coats. I'm going to put the whole thing on there. And then after that, we're going to put down a coat of silver spray paint. This is just kind of a metallic aluminum finish, and it's going to be a really nice base for the rest of the knife. Alright, now that we have the rest of our knife all together, we're going to go ahead and paint it with some Flat FX Silver Samurai. Now this is only going to be used for details, so we're not going to use too much of it. After that, we're going to go ahead and paint our straps black, put a wash over it, clear coat it so it looks nice and shiny, and that's the next few steps we got to take care of before we're all finished up. Now we're just going to go ahead and use a little bit here. Now remember, you don't have to go crazy with the Flat FX paints to make everything look really nice. Now a little bit goes a long way. I'm not going to bore you with all this, so we're going to go ahead and speed this up just a little bit. Little bit of a side note here. After I painted all my detail work and painted the straps, I went to go ahead and put my weathered wash over it, which came out really nice. But as I went to go wipe everything away, I wiped away all the detail and all the hard work I had actually done when I was painting. So I had to repaint everything all over again. It's all because I wasn't patient and didn't wait for it to dry. So when you paint, be patient. And there you have it, guys. The Hunter Knife from Destiny. Now this pattern is available over on punishprops.com, so you can grab one and make one for yourself. Now this is the design you're going to see right from the video game. So it has the Hunter logo on one side and on the other, along with some of the gray marks that look pretty cool running up and down both sides of the knife. Now there is another design I was working on that I told you guys about in the beginning of the video, and I have it right here. Now it does have the same basic design to it, but I did go ahead and use the Ace of Blades detail I pulled right from a screenshot. Now instead of using the digital camo, which was not working out in my favor at all, I went ahead and did a blood spatter pattern. Now this came out so much better than I had anticipated. I was just kind of throwing paint at it and it came out so good. And if you actually, I mean you guys can't do it because you're sitting at home or wherever you are, the paint is a little raised, so it gives it a lot more texture to it, so it's really cool. I also added a saw back to the very end, because I mean, hey, these guys really got to use these things, right? How else are you gonna do hunter things in Destiny? I don't know, I haven't played the game, but this is really cool. Alright, so guys, that's gonna bring it to the end of the video for me. Go out, do something creative, do something you love, and I'll see you guys on the next build.